What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Terxsu, but y'all can just call me Sunny for real. Alright, so look, for the longest time, I thought Jane wasn't even a character. I really believed she was just a plot device, a morality trap Telltale dropped on us just to see who we would shoot. And you know what? I still kind of believe that. But after replaying and digging into what people say, I realized there's a bigger picture. Jane forces us to confront some ugly truths about ourselves, and that's why this video exists. But before we get into all that, I need to open up my heart with y'all. Thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. I can't believe we hit it so quick. I mean, the support from the last video was just amazing, and I can't thank y'all enough. Like, I really used to dream about stuff like this, and seeing how I'm growing and slowly building a fan base means the world to me. So thank you. I'm not gonna get too long-winded and sappy, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna save that for different times, but I can't thank y'all enough. Let's get into it. Before we start calling Jane a plot device, let's at least talk about who she actually is in the story. Our first glimpse of Jane isn't her drenched in Walker guts. She's not making a grand dramatic entrance. She's silent. She's at Carver's camp, sitting off in a corner. You only notice her when she speaks, and that first line is almost absurd.
Actually, I do it all the time.
One minute she's background scenery, the next she flips the tone. That tells you everything about her. She's antisocial, distant, and has zero faith in groups. In her eyes, people are temporary, attachments are dangerous, and the only rule that matters is making it out alive. That whole philosophy comes from her past. Before Clem ever met her, Jane spent years dragging her little sister Jamie across the apocalypse. And when they ended up trapped on a rooftop, Jamie begged to give up, and Jane, she let go. And that decision, abandoning the only family she had left, shaped her entire personality. From that moment, she refused to let herself care too much about anyone again. Now, to be fair, Jane isn't completely heartless. She'll occasionally let her guard down with Clem. She talks about dumb sibling stuff, like stealing toys or cutting gum out of Jamie's hair. She even tells a story about getting drunk as a teenager. So yeah, there's still a human being under there, but you really have to dig for it. But day to day, Jane is pragmatic and willing to cross lines if it means survival. Whether it's seducing Troy just long enough to put a bullet in him and walk away, or teaching Clem to slice open walkers like they're loot boxes, she's always thinking 3 steps ahead. So that's Jane in context, the survivalist, the lone wolf, the anti-attachment specialist. On the surface, she's a full character, tragic backstory, unique skills, her own worldview, but underneath, that's where the cracks start showing, and that's where the idea of her being more of a concept than a companion really kicks in. Alright, so now that we know who Jane is, let's talk about what she actually functions as. Here's the wild part. Jane doesn't really behave like a character. She behaves like a thesis statement. Almost every single thing she says boils down to one idea. Survival is more important than people. And no matter when you talk to her, she's always cycling back to that point. Think about it. Kenny's arc is all over the place. He's loyal, he's violent, he's broken, he's hopeful. Half the time you don't know what Kenny you're going to get in the next scene. Luke? He's dependable until his flaws start poking through. Even minor characters like Rebecca or Sarah are written with a little bit of unpredictability. Jane? Nah. She walks in with her philosophy locked in, and she leaves the same way. And that's why she never feels natural. When you play, you can sense that she isn't growing alongside Clem. She isn't really changing in response to the group. She's lecturing. That's her job. Jane is basically a walking reminder that caring about people is dangerous. The proof is in her conversations. With Sarah, she tells us she's weak and that we should just leave her. With Kenny, she tells us that he's unstable and that we should let him go. With Clem, it's don't get attached or you'll end up like me. Over and over, she's hammering home the same principles. It's not bad writing in the sense that it's sloppy, it's intentional. It's like the writers stripped her down to one single function. Embody a worldview and hold it steady until the player has to deal with it. And here's the thing, most characters exist to feel like people first and symbols second. Jane skips the people step. She's written more as a symbol than a survivor. She's loyalty's opposite. She's Kenny's counterweight. And the more you replay, the clearer it becomes. Every piece of dialogue is foreshadowing that final showdown. She's slowly paving the road toward episode 5. She's a chess piece. And that's why I feel like she isn't a character at all. Because when you strip away her backstory about Jamie and those rare moments of vulnerability, she's still basically a concept in human skin. So when I call Jane more of a concept than a character, this is what I'm talking about. Telltale didn't design her to be messy, unpredictable, or nuanced. They designed her to be consistent to the point of stiffness. They designed her to stand up for one principle so they could throw it in your face and ask, do you believe in her or do you believe in Kenny? And that's the secret to why she feels so strange in season 2. She's less of a companion and more of a countdown timer, waiting for that final test. So here's where things get interesting. Once Jane is established, she doesn't just hang around to help. Every move she makes in episodes 4 and 5 is setting the stage for that final decision. Look at how she treats Sarah. At the trailer park, when everything's collapsing, Jane doesn't even hesitate. She tells Clem straight up, Sarah's gone, leave her. And if you do push to save her, you actually can. Sarah makes it out. But here's where it gets even more interesting. If Sarah survives, the game sets up the observation deck later on, and that's where Jane becomes the delivery system for Telltale's lesson. Clem can beg Jane to try, and Jane does what she normally wouldn't. She reaches for Sarah, she actually puts in the effort, and Sarah still dies. And that's the trick. On the surface, it looks like Jane tried and failed, but what's really happening is Telltale making their point through Jane. She's their mouthpiece. She's the one reinforcing their philosophy. Some people can't be saved. Every time Kenny and Jane are in the same room, it's instant beef. Like, these two don't even breathe the same air without arguing, and Clem's just standing there like a kid stuck in the backseat while her parents are fighting. Kenny's emotional, Jane's detached, and neither one is subtle about it. And what's crazy is their arguments aren't just arguments, they're rehearsals. Every bicker between them is foreshadowing the fight you know is coming. Even when Jane leaves the group for a bit and then comes back, it feels deliberate. Most characters leave for survival or cowardice, but Jane's exit and return is framed like she's testing Clementine. Will Clem fight to keep her around? Will she prove she values Jane's philosophy? It's less about Jane's survival and more about how Clem reacts to it. And notice how Jane starts isolating Clem from everyone else. She teaches Clem one-on-one skills like the walker kill trick or using guts to blend in. She shares her backstory with only Clem. She doesn't trust the group, but she does trust Clem. That bond feels important, but again, it's set up, because when the end comes, it's not about Luke or Rebecca or anyone else. It's about Clem standing between Jane and Kenny. The writers basically use Jane to plant seeds. Who do you save? Who do you trust? Do you value loyalty or do you value logic? And they push that narrative further by making Kenny her opposite in every way. Kenny believes in holding on to people no matter the cost. Jane believes in cutting them loose the second they become a liability. You can see where this is going a mile away, but that doesn't make it any less effective. So by the time you hit episode 5, you're already primed. The Sarah choices showed you how far you're willing to go for someone fragile. The Kenny fight showed you how far you'll go to tolerate someone unstable. And Jane's constant lectures drilled in the idea that maybe, just maybe, her way is the smarter way to live. It's all a setup. She's not guiding Clementine towards survival. She's guiding you toward a moral confrontation. And the game makes sure you can feel that pressure building the entire time. Alright, so here's where Jane drops the mask. Episode 5 isn't about her surviving with the group anymore. It's about forcing you and Clementine into one of the dirtiest choices in the series. It starts with baby AJ. Jane hides him. She doesn't lose him. She doesn't accidentally put him in danger. She hides him on purpose. And then she tells Kenny that the baby's gone, and she knows exactly what he's going to do. This is where a lot of players called the writing forced, and I get it. Jane spent the whole season telling Clem to be rational. Then suddenly, she's lying about a baby's death just to bait Kenny into snapping? It feels out of character, but when you think of Jane as a concept, not a person, it makes perfect sense. The writers didn't care if her actions made sense for Jane. They cared that those actions set up the ultimate test. And this isn't some neat, clean choice where either option is right. No matter what you do, it's ugly. Kill Kenny, you're left with Jane, someone who manipulated a child's death to prove a point. Kill Jane, you're left with Kenny, someone who just murdered a woman in a blind rage right in front of a kid. And before I continue, let me find out any of y'all chose Jane. Anyway, sorry, I had to regain my composure. It's not just about who lives, it's about what version of Clementine you've been building. Are you raising her to value loyalty, even when it's dangerous? Or are you raising her to be pragmatic, even when it's heartless? And here's the kicker. Jane's fate proves she was never supposed to be permanent. She dies either way. Shoot Kenny, and she survives for a while, but season 3 kills her off immediately with a throwaway, self-delete scene. Spare Kenny, and Jane dies in the snow that day. So no matter what, she's gone. She was never here for the long term, which is why I call her a trap. So when people say Jane's arc felt rushed or out of character in episode 5, I don't even argue, because yeah, as a character it makes no sense, but as a device it makes perfect sense. She was never meant to survive this story. She was meant to make you squirm. This is where the debate kicks in. Was Jane being written as a morality trap intentional genius, or was it just bad writing? A lot of people argue it was sloppy, and honestly, they're low-key right. Jane spends most of the season being consistent, and then suddenly, in episode 5, she risks a baby's life just to prove a point. For some players, that broke her completely. They didn't see a principle anymore, they didn't see a philosophy anymore. They saw lazy-ass writing forcing drama. But then you have the other side, the people who see it as intentional. Telltale needed a character who would embody the cold, pragmatic view of survival all the way to the end. If they made Jane softer or more nuanced, she wouldn't clash with Kenny in the same way. That final fight works because they're polar opposites. Kenny is pure loyalty, Jane is pure logic, and Clem, she's the coin toss. And when you look at it from that angle, her out of character moment makes sense. It wasn't supposed to feel natural, it was supposed to feel wrong. It was supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, even angry, because that's the emotional corner the writers wanted you in. For me, the truth sits somewhere in the middle. On a writing level, yeah, Jane isn't consistent. Her episode 5 stunt feels jarring, but on a design level, it works. She was never meant to live past that choice. She was built to spark that exact fight, and once it was over, her job was done. And that's where people get split. If you look at Jane as a person, it's frustrating. If you look at her as a device, it's effective. The question is, do you forgive the writing for sacrificing character realism to deliver one of the most iconic choices in the series? It sounds cliche, but here's the part I think gets overlooked the most. Jane wasn't designed for Clementine. She was designed for you. Think about how that final choice feels. It's not about what Clem needs to learn. It's about what you believe. The writers already know Jane isn't sticking around. They know Kenny won't survive the series either. What matters is what you reveal when you're pushed into that corner. Kill Kenny and you've sided with pragmatism. You've basically admitted you'll cut down anyone, no matter how loyal, if they're too dangerous. Kill Jane and you've sided with loyalty, even if it means standing with someone who's spiraling out of control. Neither answer is clean. Both say something about you as a player. Jane is less of a survivor and more of a mirror. She's the writers asking you straight up, what kind of Clementine are you shaping? The one who values loyalty above all, or the one who's willing to be cold and live with it? It's meta in a way Telltale didn't even bother hiding. Jane dies either way, which means she was never meant to carry the story forward. She was meant to expose you, your morality, your tolerance, your limits, and judging by how people like you and I are still arguing about it to this day, she did her job. So yeah, after replaying it, after looking at all of the debates, I still stand on what I said in the intro. Jane was never really a character. That doesn't mean she wasn't interesting, or that her philosophy didn't make sense. It just means she wasn't built to live past that moment. Her entire existence was leading to that gun in Clementine's hand. So whether you think that's brilliant, or you think it's cheap, the truth is, it worked. We're still talking about her. We're still fighting about Kenny versus Jane. And that says a lot about how Telltale wanted us to experience this game. Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 2, that is. Anyway, I want to know what side you landed on. Did you pull for Jane? Did you stick with Kenny? Or did you try to walk away from both? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading through them. Anyway, as a community, we are slowly but surely peaking. So I don't know what to call you guys. I mean, I didn't think I would get this big so soon. So if you guys have any ideas with that, let me know as well. And we have more videos coming in the future, not just Telltale and The Last of Us. So stay tuned. Thank you if you watched it all the way to the end. It's been your boy Sunny, but of course, y'all can call me Terxsu. And as always, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.